All right, guys, let's talk about the difference of shooting and moving, and then the difference where you run to a position and then shoot from that position. So going to a location to shoot versus shooting through the whole location. So we're on the range today. We have some steel targets set up over here. If you can see, the idea behind this explanation and this drill is it teaches you two things. It teaches you to be able to shoot while you're moving your body. It's essentially just a fundamental. It's the same fundamental as me shooting standing still, only I'm walking like I do every day. So I'm just gonna be walking forward and shooting. Now, between that and running to a position, stopping, and then shooting, and what the difference between the two are, right? And it's really a tactical decision. Am I shooting and the bullets are my cover? Or am I running to cover and then shooting outside of cover using now what I ran to cover as the new position that I want to be in? Being able to do both is very important at any level. So practicing one and then practicing the other is how we get good at things. And then understanding the difference and how to apply them is a very, very important thing for any tactician, anybody practicing with a firearm. So let's get to it. All right, so now we're gonna start doing the actual practical application of this. It's always a good idea to go and do it dry, so no bullets in the gun. As you can see, it's an empty gun. I like to just set up a few so that I get comfortable in holding the gun. I've established a good grip on it. I've established a good secondary grip. And since we're talking about shooting and moving, the key to this is while I'm moving, I want to engage my core. So if my core is tight, everything then becomes an extension of that energy. So my strong core allows my legs to be strong, allows my arms to be strong, and then there's less bounce in the gun. Very little details like that are the ones that help us succeed the most. So I'll do a couple of rounds dry. I'm gonna isolate the gun, make sure my grips are good, make sure my sights are where I want them. I'm gonna isolate my core, and then I'm simply gonna start moving. And then here I can mimic shooting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the whole time, the purpose of this and how much strength I'm gonna give the gun, how I'm gonna step, is just to keep the sights where they need to be on the target. That's how you measure the things that you're doing. If my sights are coming completely off, I need to add more pressure. If my sights are bouncing too much, I need to figure out where I'm losing connections between the ground and my upper body, because everything is an input. If I step too hard, it creates a bounce in the gun. If I step naturally, it flows. So this flow is what I want when I'm using the gun while I'm walking, while I'm shooting. So now let's take it live and see how that looks. All right, so I know you guys have drilled standing still and shooting, right? It's as basic as this. I'm standing here shooting. Now, adding the movement to it by isolating the core, locking the gun down in my hands, and my feet now are all strong because of that one key factor, isolating the core for strength. So as we move forward, it's the same exact thing as this, and it's the same exact thing as doing a normal walk like you would walk every day, just combining the two now, which if you're good at one and you're good at the other, it makes it very simple. Don't overcomplicate things that aren't really complicated. So I'm gonna hold the sights where I want them. I'm gonna start moving, and then I'm just gonna pull the trigger as I move toward the target. As simple as that. It would be the same as if I was standing still and shooting. Now I'm just simply walking. So I know there's a lot of practice done just from here. Add some steps into it and understand that how much control you give the gun is what you need as far as the gun moving. So more control, more stability. While you're moving, being aware of your environment also helps. So if I know there's a lot of rocks, maybe I'll step around. If I know that there's some rocks and I have to step on them because there's no other path, I can use that and just bend my knee and allow the movements to take place. So having confidence in your environment, your abilities, all of those play a huge factor in the success of any mission. So how do we ramp it up? How do we take it up a notch? So one of two things can happen. Either I can move faster and shoot at that consistent pace, or I can shoot faster and move slower. This is where the level of experience that you have or your team has starts to play in. Or even if one guy needs to move faster, what's happening is in the open, if I have to shoot and move, my bullets are my cover. They're what's providing me some sort of barrier between me and the enemy or the threat. I hope that makes sense, because if I'm just in the open, I wouldn't just stand here, because then I'm vulnerable as well. So by moving and sending things towards the target, it allows that to create an environment where I can be safer by making them have to take cover, right? So amping it up, it would be me moving faster and potentially shooting just a little bit slower because it's harder to manage the gun, versus moving faster and shooting fast, where rounds just start to kind of deviate and do their own thing, which in a way it is a tactic to do, like suppressed by fire, but with handguns and guns where they run out of ammunition because it's smaller capacity, that might not be the best option. So let's take a look at how it would look to move faster and shoot just a little slower to maintain that. So I would close the distance faster while still maintaining the gun. So now the cadence is a little slower because it's harder to make sure the gun is where I want it. And though there's always going to be movement in the gun, there is time and space where you can catch the right setup and break that shot, even if you're moving quickly. All right, so we kind of went over the idea of moving and shooting, which the bullets that I'm firing are providing my cover. Now, if I need to close the distance between a space, and on a flat environment like this where there isn't any cover, I could always use my imagination, especially if I'm running a big team and we don't have certain things. It's okay to teach guys, take 5 steps and then immediately stop, and now you're where you need to be, and then send rounds downrange, right? What that affords us is, if I'm running to a position, if I'm running and I'm getting somewhere and I'm stopping, what's the luxury part of this is that I've trained shooting standing still, right? So all we're doing now is incorporating a movement from one location to another, all mission dependent, all situationally dependent. Am I going from my house to the car quickly? Am I going from one room to another quickly? Am I cutting through a hallway quickly? All it is covering the space that I need to get there and do the shooting then, versus shooting while moving. Sometimes we have the luxury of running to a location, stopping, creating our great platform for shooting, isolating the hands, firing from there. Sometimes we have to move and shoot, right? We demonstrated a lot of the moving and shooting, and then we picked it up a notch. Now let's just do a few of these. So a basic drill that you guys can do together or on your own: take 3-4 steps, stop, shoot a string of fire, 3 to 5 rounds, take another few steps, and then you could even work it backwards and then diagonally. So I'll showcase forward and then backwards, just so you guys can see a visual application of the drill, and then you guys can do it yourselves. So we're gonna take a few steps moving forward. I'm gonna abruptly stop, move forward, abruptly stop, look back, move back, move back. So combining the ability to move quickly, stop, shoot, move back quickly, stop, shoot, those are practical applications. You've already begun the fundamentals of it. You already know how to stand still and shoot. Now you're just adding a dynamic movement in between those static positions and piecing it together to become a better shooter.